The Magical Dream Garden. Chapter 1. The Mysterious Seeds. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Lily. She loved spending time in her garden and had a particular fascination with flowers. One sunny day, as she was tending to her plants, she noticed a small package hidden under a bush. Curiosity piqued, she picked it up and opened it, revealing a pouch filled with glittering seeds of different shapes and sizes. She couldn't recall planting them before, nor did she know where they came from. Lily examined the seeds carefully, fascinated by their unusual appearance. Some of them were as big as pebbles, while others were tiny and round. They sparkled in the sunlight and seemed to glow in the shade. Lily's imagination ran wild with thoughts of what kind of plants they could grow into. Determined to find out, Lily fetched a small patch of soil in the corner of her garden, dug holes for each seed, and carefully planted them, hoping they would grow into something beautiful. She watered them every day, and after a few weeks, she saw something sprouting from the soil. The plants were unlike anything she had ever seen before, with leaves that shimmered in the light and flowers that glowed in the dark. She was amazed and excited to see what would happen next. Chapter 2. The Unusual Sprouts. Over the next few weeks, Lily watched in awe as her mysterious seeds grew into the most unusual plants she had ever seen. The leaves were a combination of purple and silver, and the flowers were a mix of colors that seemed to sparkle and shimmer like precious jewels. Every day, Lily would spend hours in her garden, marveling at the beauty of her plants and wondering what kind of magic they possessed. As the weeks passed, Lily noticed that her plants seemed to be growing faster than normal. The flowers were getting bigger and brighter, and the leaves were reaching towards the sky. One night, as she was admiring them, she heard a faint humming sound coming from the direction of the plants. It was a gentle, soothing sound that made her feel relaxed and happy. Lily couldn't explain what was happening to her plants, but she knew that there was something special about them. She continued to care for them with great diligence, always making sure they were well fed and watered. And as time went on, she could feel the magic growing stronger with each passing day. Chapter 3. The Enchanted Garden. One day, as Lily was tending to her garden, she noticed something strange. The plants seemed to be moving on their own, swaying in the breeze even though there wasn't a breath of wind in the air. She looked closer and realized that the humming sound was growing louder, and the plants were pulsing with a faint glow. As she watched in amazement, the plants began to transform before her very eyes. The flowers grew larger and brighter, while the leaves elongated and became more intricate. The stems twisted and turned, forming a beautiful lattice that seemed to sparkle in the sunlight. Lily was amazed at the transformation and felt a surge of excitement as she realized that she had stumbled upon an enchanted garden. She sat down on the grass and watched in awe as the plants continued to grow and change, their beauty becoming more dazzling with each passing moment. She knew that this was no ordinary garden, and that she had been given a rare gift. From that moment on, Lily dedicated herself to caring for the enchanted garden, spending every waking moment learning about its mysteries and secrets. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the magic that had been bestowed upon her, and knew that she would cherish it for the rest of her life. Chapter 4. The Mysterious Visitors. As Lily spent more time in her enchanted garden, she began to notice that strange creatures were appearing among the plants. They were small and colorful, with wings that shimmered like the petals of a flower. They would flit from bloom to bloom, drinking the nectar and seemingly enjoying the beauty of the garden. At first, Lily was hesitant to approach the creatures, but as she watched them more closely, she realized that they were friendly and harmless. She reached out her hand, and one of the creatures landed on her finger, its wings beating gently. Lily was amazed at the beauty and grace of the creature, and she knew that she had never seen anything like it before. She wondered where the creatures had come from and why they were attracted to her enchanted garden. She spent the next few days observing the creatures and learning about their behavior. She noticed that they were particularly drawn to the larger flowers, and that they seemed to have a special connection with the plants. Lily felt honored to have these mysterious visitors in her garden, and she made a promise to herself to always protect and care for the plants and creatures that called it home. She knew that the enchanted garden was a magical place, and she felt grateful for the opportunity to be a part of it. Chapter 5. The Mischievous Imp. One day, as Lily was sitting in her enchanted garden, she noticed a small, mischievous creature darting between the flowers. It was an imp, with a pointed hat and a cheeky grin. Lily had heard stories of imps before, but she had never seen one in person. The imp seemed to be playing a game, darting between the flowers and causing mischief wherever it went. Lily watched with amusement, wondering what the imp was up to. Suddenly, the imp disappeared behind a large flower, and Lily heard a faint rustling sound. She approached the flower and found that the imp had tied a knot in one of the stems, causing it to lean precariously to one side. Lily knew that she couldn't let the imp continue to cause mischief in her garden, so she approached it and asked it to stop. The imp just laughed and darted away, disappearing into the bushes. Lily was left feeling frustrated and a little bit angry. She knew that the imp was just playing a harmless game, but she didn't want her enchanted garden to be disrupted by its antics. She spent the next few days thinking of ways to stop the imp from causing any more mischief. She spoke to the other creatures in the garden, and together they came up with a plan to outsmart the imp and put an end to its games once and for all. Chapter 6. The imps challenge. Lily and the other creatures in the enchanted garden spent days planning and preparing for their showdown with the mischievous imp. They knew that they needed to be clever and quick if they were going to catch the imp and put a stop to its games. Finally, the day of the showdown arrived. Lily and the other creatures waited patiently for the imp to appear. They had set up traps and distractions all around the garden, hoping to catch the imp off guard. Suddenly, they heard a faint giggle coming from behind a nearby flower. The imp had arrived. Lily and the other creatures sprang into action, darting between the flowers and setting their traps. The imp seemed to be enjoying the game, dodging and weaving through their efforts to catch it. But Lily was determined not to let the imp win. She spotted the imp darting towards a particularly large flower and knew that it was time to act. She positioned herself in front of the flower, ready to intercept the imp. The imp charged towards her, grinning from ear to ear. But Lily was ready. With lightning-fast reflexes, she grabbed the imp and held it tightly. The imp struggled and squirmed, but it was no match for Lily's strength. She held it tightly, looking it straight in the eyes. "Enough," she said firmly. "Your games are over. This is our enchanted garden, and we won't let you disrupt it any longer." The imp looked at her for a moment, then nodded its head in understanding. Lily released her grip, and the imp darted away, disappearing into the bushes. Lily and the other creatures in the garden celebrated their victory, knowing that they had protected their enchanted home from the imp's mischief. And from that day forward, the garden remained peaceful and magical, a place of beauty and wonder for all who visited it. Chapter 7. The unexpected storm. Days had passed since Lily had defeated the imp and the enchanted garden had been peaceful and serene. However, on this particular day, dark clouds began to gather overhead. Lily sensed that something was amiss and quickly began to gather her things and head back to her cottage. As she made her way through the garden, she heard the faint sound of thunder in the distance. The wind picked up, and the trees began to sway. Lily knew that she needed to hurry. Just as she was about to reach her cottage, a bolt of lightning struck a nearby tree, sending splinters flying in all directions. Lily ducked behind a nearby bush, shielding herself from the debris. The storm raged on, and Lily knew that she couldn't leave the enchanted garden to weather the storm alone. She made her way back to the garden, determined to help the plants and creatures that called it home. As she entered the garden, she saw that the wind had knocked over several of the larger flowers, and the rain was battering the delicate petals. She quickly set to work, using sticks and twine to prop up the fallen flowers and shield them from the rain. As she worked, Lily could feel the power of the storm all around her. But she was determined not to let it win. She continued to tend to the garden, working tirelessly to protect it from the storm's fury. Finally, after what seemed like hours, the storm began to subside. The wind died down, and the rain slowed to a drizzle. Lily stood in the garden, surveying the damage. Although many of the flowers had been battered and bruised, she was relieved to see that they had survived. Lily knew that the enchanted garden was a special place, and she felt grateful to have been a part of it during the storm. She knew that she would always do everything in her power to protect and care for it, no matter what challenges lay ahead. Chapter 8. A new beginning. In the days that followed the storm, Lily worked tirelessly to restore the enchanted garden to its former glory. She tended to the flowers, removed the fallen debris, and repaired any damage that had been done. As she worked, she felt a sense of renewal and hope. The storm had been a reminder that even in the face of adversity, beauty and magic could still flourish. Lily decided to plant a new flower in the garden, one that would symbolize this new beginning. She carefully selected a seed and planted it in a spot where the sun would shine down on it each day. Days turned into weeks, and the new flower began to grow. It was unlike any other flower in the garden, with petals that shimmered in the sunlight and a fragrance that filled the air with a sweet, comforting scent. Lily knew that this flower was special, and she felt grateful to have been a part of its growth. As she sat in the garden, watching the new flower bloom and the other flowers thrive, she knew that the enchanted garden would always hold a special place in her heart. From that day forward, Lily continued to care for the enchanted garden, tending to the plants and creatures that called it home. And though there would be challenges along the way, she knew that she would always be there to protect and nurture the beauty and magic of the enchanted garden.